Today, we're diving into a classic fable. It's this incredibly timeless story that asks a really profound question: what actually holds real, lasting value in our lives? It's a fascinating look at human nature. Why we want the things we want, how we prioritize our ambitions, and really, how we individually define wealth. If you've ever wondered whether quiet intellect or loud, flashy riches wins out when push comes to shove, you're absolutely going to love the story we're unpacking today.
Just think about this for a second. If someone handed you 100,000 gold coins, we're talking virtually unlimited, staggering wealth here, and gave you exactly 6 months to go out and buy the single most valuable thing in the entire world, what would your very first instinct be? Would it be a massive mansion, some rare art, maybe literally your own private island? Well, hold on to that answer, because this exact hypothetical scenario is the ultimate test at the very center of our story today.
All right, let's dive into this. Section 1, the courtroom conflict.
So, our story kicks off in a royal courtroom where two men approach the king to resolve this fundamental, deeply personal dispute. And these two guys are total opposites. On one hand, we have the wealthy man who is incredibly rich in gold, but, as the story points out, completely lacking in intellect or humility. On the other hand, we have the wise man. He's financially poor, doesn't have much gold at all, but he is incredibly rich in intellect. The conflict? Well, the wealthy man comes to the king with a bitter complaint. He says this poor man constantly mocks his intelligence and boldly claims that wisdom is way superior and far more valuable than any amount of physical money.
Which brings us to Section 2, the king's ultimate challenge.
Faced with this massive philosophical debate between the two men, the king doesn't just offer up his opinion. Instead, he decides to settle the argument once and for all with a remarkably high-stakes test. He grants them a staggering sum. He hands each man exactly 100,000 gold coins. I mean, this sheer volume of wealth completely removes any financial limitations. Both the rich man and the poor man are now on a totally level playing field when it comes to raw purchasing power.
But of course, there's a catch, and the clock is ticking. The king gives them exactly 6 months from the day he hands over the gold to complete this epic mission. They have just half a year to use their 100,000 coins to find and purchase the absolute most priceless, valuable thing in the entire world and bring it back to the courtroom. So, the pressure to evaluate every single thing on Earth and choose the ultimate prize is officially on.
Section 3, a tale of two choices.
Let's look at how their deeply ingrained, totally contrasting mindsets dictated their spending. First up, the wealthy man. Honestly, his choices were incredibly predictable. He immediately went straight to the market and essentially tried to empty out all the luxury boutiques he could find. His idea of the most valuable thing in the world was strictly physical, tangible luxury. He just dumped his coins into buying up the finest, gaudiest diamonds, the absolute rarest jewels, and the most lavish clothes available.
Now, what's really interesting here is the wise man's approach. He completely redefined the assignment. Instead of rushing out to a high-end jeweler, he went to work on his community. He used his 100,000 coins to call the absolute wisest scholars into the city. He fully funded the education of poor children who otherwise wouldn't have had a chance at a brighter future. He commissioned the digging of wells across this vast kingdom to provide reliable, clean drinking water to thousands of families. In short, he spent absolutely every last gold coin on public welfare and community investments.
When you put their choices side by side, the contrast is just breathtaking. We're looking at tangible assets, heavy, shiny items purchased purely for personal gain and visual display, versus intangible assets. The wise man didn't buy things. He built societal resources. He invested heavily in human capital, in public health, and really, in the enduring future of the kingdom itself.
Section 4, the Day of Judgment.
So, 6 months quickly pass, the deadline arrives, and we are back in the courtroom for the ultimate reveal. The wealthy man is up first. He strides in, radiating this immense confidence that honestly borders on sheer arrogance. He proudly displays his glittering diamonds, his sparkling jewels, and his excessively rich garments to the king. In his mind, he has easily won this challenge. After all, what could possibly be worth more than these literal heavy treasures? But then, the king turns to the wise man, and there's this moment of deep, palpable confusion in the courtroom. The king looks at him, expecting to see something equally magnificent, but the wise man is standing there completely empty-handed. He hasn't brought a single physical object back with him. The king is utterly bewildered by this and demands to know, where is the purchase?
The wise man folds his hands with deep respect and delivers this incredibly powerful defense. He says, "Maharaj, I did not buy any object, but invested it in public welfare, education, and the spread of knowledge. The knowledge given today cannot be stolen by a thief, nor will it ever end." Just let the gravity of those words sink in for a second. He's arguing that true value isn't something you can just hold in your hand. It cannot be stolen by a thief, nor will it ever end. It's something that truly endures.
Section 5, Wisdom as True Wealth.
And that brings us to the climax of the story, the moment of decision. The king listens to the wise man's profound reasoning, and he is immensely pleased. That answer completely shifts his perspective on what actually matters. Right there in the courtroom, he declares the wise man the definitive winner. The poor man's original claim that intellect and wisdom reign supreme over money is entirely validated by the highest authority in the land.
This brilliantly illustrates the core moral of our fable today. Material wealth, the heavy gold, the shiny jewels, the expensive clothes, it's here today and gone tomorrow. It can be lost, it can be recklessly spent, or it can easily be stolen by a thief in the night. But knowledge and wisdom, that always remains with you. It's a permanent fixture of your character and your mind that literally no one can ever take away.
So the ultimate takeaway from the King's Test is a complete redefinition of what true wealth really is. It is not physical gold or jewels. True wealth is indestructible knowledge and wisdom. It is the one single asset that cannot be stolen, and remarkably, the more you share it with others, the more it actually grows. It can never be depleted.
Which brings us right back to you. We started this explainer by asking what you would buy. But knowing what we know now from the wise man's incredible victory, let's reframe that. If you were given 6 months and vast wealth today, what eternal asset would you build? How would you invest in knowledge, for yourself or for others, that could never be taken away? Think about that as you go about your week. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.